A big welcome to Garry Kasparov, and the stage is yours. Thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much for reminding me about my match with the Blue. I always want to remind people that I won the first match, and the match I lost was a rematch. Okay, but we'll move to that later. Just I wanted to start my story today with just a little anecdote actually happened here in Berlin a few months ago at another conference. At the very end, so being asked at the stage by a moderator a couple of questions. The last one, I mean, I was almost shocked when I hear it because it was such a luck. What would be the last profession, occupation on the planet taken by AI? Now, seeing 4,000 developers in front of me, I immediately said developer. Okay, it was, not like a coincidence, but I thought, just going in this hole that is, but what if we ask about the first profession that can be taken by AI to improve our lives? Now, looking at this current geopolitical turmoil, I think that if AI will take over politics, their life could not be worse. But I think, we all have enough of Russian meddling in politics, so let me move into, something more productive. And I will try in the remaining 29 minutes of my presentation to tell my story about my relations with computers, but also I think what's very important is to bust a bunch of myths. Because AI today is surrounded by a very thick fog of mythology. And we believe in certain things, and we're all paralyzed by the fear because I guess we all have been watching too many Hollywood movies. But it's very important to understand the subject we're discussing, and just not to be paralyzed by fear. I mean, one of them is just, AI is all over the place. It's just around the corner. It will take over. Look, AI at a very, very early stage. I think it is a mistake using, Microsoft analogy. So people think it's Windows 10, while we're at the very early stage of MS-DOS. And also, again, we do not understand exactly how this collaboration can work. Because for us, if machine doesn't perform 100%, it's no good. Nothing can perform 100%. There's no perfection across this universe. All we should expect from machine is just to do things better. It's all about improvement. And while I'll go over my own personal story, you will see that this mythology actually worked even in chess. Because again, our expectations about machines, what machines can do and cannot do, have been also refuted from practice. Now, from the very early days, because chess has been seen as some sort of ultimate pinnacle of human intelligence, the idea of machines taking on humans, was dominant in the minds of computer scientists. They recognized from the very early that chess cannot be solved mathematically because the number of legal moves, according to Claude Shannon, one of the founding fathers of computer science, was 10 to the 46 power, 46 zeros. That's a pretty big number, trust me. So that's for game not to be solved. But that's why they thought that brute force was not enough. Something that they call type A machine, brute force, will not be enough. That's why machines had to play like humans, to emulate human thoughts to become successful. By the way, big mistake. And we keep repeating this mistake now because, again, it's not about solving the game, it's about doing things better, which means making fewer mistakes. So it's, for instance, the airplanes flying faster than any bird without flapping their wings. For machines to outperform us, they don't have to do things the same way. They do it differently. So my actual story of facing machines started also here in Germany. In 1985, I faced 32 little computers. Maybe, okay, looking at the audience, so I see probably some people here, they still have this piece of antique called chess computers. So, of course, the moves have been executed by humans, but I faced 32 machines. Machines had to, make suggestions. So I played these 32 chess computers. 4 leading manufacturers had eight models each, and I won all the games. All 32 games. Now, it was not a surprise. Actually, the surprise could be if I lost one game or even if I drew one game. So when I look at this picture, it reminds me of the golden age of human-machine competitions. Machines were weak, and my hair was strong. Actually, machines were bulky, and my stomach was flat. That's another story. Now, 12 years later, I faced only one computer. As I reminded you, it was the rematch, because I won the first one. And actually, in 1996 in Philadelphia, that's New York 1997. But actually, it's important to remember that if we are looking for a watershed moment in the history of human-machine relations, I would say it was in Philadelphia rather than New York, because though I won match in Philadelphia, I lost game 1. So machine beat me in game 1, then I fought back, won 3 games, won the match. But the fact is that machine could beat current world champion in the normal tournament game was already a sign, like a big sign on the wall. We haven't read it. I was mistaken. I didn't think it's almost the end of the story. And by the way, we faced machines even before 96 or 97. We played blitz games, 5-minute chess, then rapid games, 25-minute chess. And though we were ahead, but we all, suffered some defeats against machines. Now, mistake, if we play a longer game, if we spend more time, so we could, still beat machines. Wrong, because machine will always have a steady hand. Machine will always, make fewer mistakes. And at the end of the day, we all humans, we're all vulnerable, even the best of us. So we are poised to make mistakes, and machine will immediately capitalize on the mistake. So it's the match in 1997, so demonstrated, that's a classical cycle. Because when you look at computers, first is a joke. Then they are laughingly weak, like, the machines that I played in 1985 in Hamburg. Then they are, real competitors, useful tools. And then they are, superior forever after. So the stage when we can compete is a very narrow one. Actually, it's a tiny dot in the historical timeline, but we all are obsessed with that. And again, it's not just chess, it's a typical cycle. Joke, laughingly weak, competition, and then they dominate. Now, the question is what happens next if they dominate. It's not the end of the story. It simply changes the nature of our relations with these computers. And now a very important thing. People talk about Deep Blue match as the beginning of AI history. Come on, Deep Blue was as intelligent as your alarm clock. A very expensive one, $10 million piece. But still, there was no intelligence there. It was just brute force. And it didn't play great chess. It just made fewer mistakes than Garry Kasparov. And by the way, today, if you have a free chess app on your mobile device, it's stronger than Deep Blue, thanks to the Moore's law. And I'm not even talking about programs like Stockfish, Commodore, and other chess engines that are so much superior than any chess player. Today, the difference between best chess engines and Magnus Carlsen, current world champion, is about the same as between, Usain Bolt and Ferrari. There's no competition. Again, not because they understand chess and they discovered the great things. No. It's just because they make fewer mistakes. Again, it's all about steady hand. So, of course, when I lost the rematch, I wanted to play another match with IBM. So they made a very good decision not to play the match because they knew that at that time, it's probably I was still stronger. But it's not about being strong. It's about winning the match. And they decided just to withdraw the blue to retire it. So I was desperately looking for the machine because I wanted to play the match. And recently I discovered that the machine decided to change the profession. By the way, did I say the blue was not intelligent? Actually, it was intelligent enough to get a good spot in JFK airport to make sushi. Very often I fly from Terminal 5 of JetBlue Terminal in JFK because I live in New York, but I never ate sushi there. Now, go back to 1997. I was licking my wounds. I was thinking, ruminating, what's next for me? What's next for the game of chess? I was the first knowledge worker to lose against the machine. So trust me, it was painful. And actually, it was even more painful because when people say to me, Garry, how did you feel about losing your first match to the machine? I'm saying, no. I have not lost my first match to the machine. It was the first match I lost, period, after 12 years of being world champion. So the next I said, okay, you cannot beat them. What do? Join them. So what if we try to bring together human intuition, human creativity, so our gut feelings, and machine's brute force of calculation, machine's memory? Could it be sort of the best game we ever played? And next year in 1998, I came up with this concept, what I call advanced chess. Human plus machine. Human intuition and experience, machine speed and analysis. Now, after many events that have been mentioned here called freestyle events, where people teamed up with computers, we discovered a few interesting things. That human plus machine combination beats even superior computers, which was as expected. Because again, the problem of beating a machine is to be consistent. Because even if we play great games, still winning it is so difficult because one tiny inaccuracy and everything goes bust. Now, if you team up with a machine, you can get a good position, and then you can switch the computer to deliver the final blow. Now, but what was interesting is that when you had human plus machine facing another human plus machine, or a team of players, the most important thing was not a talent of a human team, not a speed of a computer, but superior process. Even a weaker player with average computer could beat a stronger player with more powerful machine if he or she had a better process, better collaboration. Because at the end of the day, it's about creating a team, like a centaur. As I said already, there's no way to get to 100%, but you should get as close as you can, which means that you should know exactly what to expect from your machine. It's like being a pilot of Formula 1. So you should know how your machine reacts on certain things, and where to assign the task to the machine, and where to take a lead. So, and I think those lessons are quite important, because today, I can hardly name a conference without AI panel and a speaker who talks about AI. So it's a big talk now. But I think it's just when we talk about all these improvements, we just don't recognize the fact that 99.9% of all these activities, it's not AI, it's still brute force. It's still what I would call optimization, but not innovation. It's incremental. It's not revolutionary. So that's from my book, Deep Thinking. So I think it's very important just to recognize. Do not let optimization become the enemy of innovation. And this is one of the greatest threats for modern business. Because, we think we can make a little improvement. Yeah, but once speaking at Apple, headquarters in Cupertino, I told them, look guys, with all due respect, it was that time, iPhone 7 is not Apollo 7. It's not revolutionary. It's just, we keep doing things incrementally. But we're not, but by doing this and being commercially successful, we're losing the sight of great ideas, of something that could really change the world. And I think that we should just recognize that while we know the talk of AI is growing bigger and bigger, it's some sort of its hype cycle. But things are not happening as fast as we believe. And actually, they're even slower than they had to be, because our fears, they're standing on our way of making further progress. So, of course, when we're talking about optimization and innovation, so you expect, just me to quote Steve Jobs or Thomas Edison. But first, just as I would remind that it's Austrian economist of innovation, Schumpeter, once said that no matter how many cars you add to the train, you will never invent a locomotive. Simple. So it's again, just a visual improvement is always incremental. So you have to come up with something that people don't even know yet that they need. So, and I want to switch now from science to art, because sometimes artists, they could do a better job by getting, sort of to the core of the issues. Pablo Picasso. It sounds like a paradox. Computers are useless. They can only give you answers. But actually, that's one of the greatest secrets that we have to reveal. It's because questions, questions are a beginning. Answers is just, it's the end of this line. And it's very important to feel that it's the moment where you have to reinvent yourself. And Picasso was revolutionary, so it's what Schumpeter called creative destruction. That's what Picasso did for art. So asking question, it's a human domain. And while machines also can ask questions, but trust me, they don't know what questions are relevant. So again, instead of panicking, so we should look, at the current, since we're talking about future work, current job structure, and to understand that all these fears about these jobs being taken over by computers, they are not well-founded. Actually, the fact is that this threat does exist because we have been doing too many works that machines can do better. It's not about us being threatened by machines, but we being, or being like machines because those jobs were, that's easy to grab. This is McKinsey chart about US job market of 2016-17. So now look at the work activities requiring medium human creativity. Medium human creativity, 4%. 4. Now, even emotional sensing, 29%. What that tells you? That most of the jobs will be gone. And good riddance. Because those jobs, they're not helping us to demonstrate the best of human abilities. So we have to start thinking creatively. Again, machines will do this better. The machines will take more and more space at our work. So 90%, 92, 90, whatever, 95, 96%. But there's always room. Even if we belong to the last few decimal numbers, the last few decimal spots, we still have a unique ability to actually direct the computer and just make sure that, things go our way. So again, I believe instead of, panicking, we should think how to become, more aggressive in presenting our human advantages. And when we just, look at the history of machines development, so we know that simplicity makes it more powerful. So you look at the kids, and this is in the 90s, 2000, these days. So today, kids, with few swipes of their fingers, they can do work that took weeks of programming a generation ago. So and by the way, it's our parents. So now they know how to use smartphones, and they never use PCs. My mother now, she's 82, she actually learned how to track my flights online. Again, simplicity makes it more powerful. But what is that also you should consider looking at these pictures? Our kids, they have phenomenal ability to work with that. So my daughter is 13, and my son she'll be 13 in a couple of weeks. My son just turned 4. And it's just, the way they operate, so with these devices, it just makes me envy. I mean, I know I'm dumb compared to them. So, but when you go to the school, so you just recognize that while we have unique tools, school system, educational system is still very much the same. Just, make this mental experiment. Time machine brings somebody from the late 19th century to these days. This person will not recognize anything. He or she will be paralyzed by looking at the skyscrapers full of computers, planes, feeling the skies. But this person will easily recognize the classroom. It's still the same, the desks, in the rows of desks, and the teacher standing here lecturing. It's no longer one-way street. We're dealing with new generation of kids, and they used to be information to be interactive. It's two-way street, and we have to start, revolutionizing the educational system. Oh, some people say it's too dangerous, it's too risky to innovate in education. I agree, but it's much riskier not to innovate, because at the end of the day, they know whatever they can learn in school, just from this device. Oh, Siri, tell me what's the capital of Bratislava? Oh, Slovakia, sorry, Bratislava. Yeah, what is cap? So, okay, Google, give me the square root of 256. Now, it's instead of telling them what, we should start teaching them how. So how to use this information, how to work, together as teams, how to cooperate with machines. And I'm afraid we are lagging behind, seriously behind. And that's why, we will have generation of kids, that, may, I wouldn't say lost, but they will be wondering, so what's next? Because the jobs that our kids will be looking for, the coveted jobs 10 years from now, they do not exist today. Just, look at some big jobs like 3D engineers or drone pilots. I mean, you name them, social media managers. They didn't exist 15 years ago. Again, all we know that big jobs, great jobs in 2030, they're yet to be invented. So we have to prepare our kids just for taking these jobs, and that's why they have to understand how to work with this massive information. So, now going back to Hollywood is just, we all watch these movies, about cyborgs, and this is how these new technologies, could change humans, and it threatens our lives. I don't know about this stuff threatening our lives, but what I know, this stuff saves many lives today. So why don't we talk about how many people, are being saved, are brought back to life, the handicapped people, because of these technologies. So the great technologies, I spoke a few months ago at the conference at Microsoft Greece, and there was a presentation of the program that helped blind people actually to see. Just again, they can read. So the deaf people could actually see, and there's so many great things happening, and we're talking about millions and millions and millions of people that have been cut from workforce. Now they can go back. So when you're watching these Boston Dynamics videos about robots, jumping and just, making some sort of a salto mortale, I mean, just okay, nice. But this is not a threat. First, it can help us if we know how to use it correctly. So again, it's all about us. So building, relations with machines based on our understandings how this cooperation could be most effective. And now I want to go just to the big point. So it's about the title, artificial intelligence. I'm dead against it. I believe it's augmented intelligence. Because the moment you say artificial, it sounds like alien. It's a threat. It comes from outer space, just something that could ruin our lives. Augmented is friendly, and by the way, it's a right way of describing these relations. Because what it does to us, it augments our mind. So we should look at the cycle of machines development. It starts with brute force. Machines follow human instructions. Typical type A machines. So they could do many things. By the way, they were very useful. But that's the first stage. But as the Moore law is coming to its logical end, because there are limits of minimizing the processor, so making it smaller and smaller. So we should look for next stage, which is smarter machines partner with experts using superior processes, like form of advanced chess. And it's being practiced now in finance, in medicine. And it brought some great results. Again, when people say, it's, in radiology, it threatens so many jobs in Germany, in the UK, in the US. Yes, some people could lose their jobs. But imagine the other side. The process becomes cheaper. More people could have access to these medical services, not only in Europe or America, but in the third world. How many lives can be saved if we now start bringing more machines into the game? Again, nothing comes as a free lunch. There's always a price. But if we start looking at humanity, humanity always wins if we just bring computers, AI into the process. And the next step, it's just happening now. Operators guide groups of AI algorithms. So this is a moment that it's about to come, when machines, instead of simply processing human information, will start generating its own data of knowledge. It's just happening. There are very few signs of that. So alpha, 0, if somebody followed you, this is Go and chess matches. But again, we're just in the beginning of this process. And that's why I say I strongly advise we shift to augmented intelligence. Again, it's a better term to describe human-machine relations. And I put here a telescope. I think it's a good metaphor because it shows what technology can do to our senses. The telescope augments our sight. AI augments our minds. And let me tell you, this is by pure accident. As I always look at the day in history, just to see if I could find something relevant for my presentation based on the time and the venue. I couldn't believe my eyes when I just found this. Berlin, September 23rd, 1846. Johann Gottfried Galle discovered the planet Neptune using telescope from Berlin Observatory. I checked, it's no longer there. Yeah. By following the calculations of a French mathematician, Urbain Le Verrier, who calculated the position of Neptune. That was not seen yet before. Galle followed these instructions. Can you imagine this is such a great combination of human mind making calculations, quite precise, and then another human using telescope, so augmented technology. So to follow this and actually finding it almost, it's a one degree just, away from the position that Le Verrier calculated. So that's kind of cooperation. We should look into the future. Again, it's instead of augmented senses like sights, AI can augment our minds if we know how to use it very precisely. And since I had, already mentioned Hollywood a few times, and Hollywood contributed quite, significantly to enhance these fears and to brainwash people about the future. So I always think that it's important to bring something from Hollywood that could show the opposite, can actually show that humans are indispensable. It's one of my favorite episodes of the Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. Now, why this picture or this slide is relevant? I guess many of you, I could see some smiles in the audience. So this is a moment where Han Solo is trying to escape from Imperial guards pursuing them, and he's moving into the asteroid field. And C-3PO in a squeaky voice is telling him, the chances of surviving in the asteroid field are 3,720 to 1. The answer is, never tell me the odds. Now, why it's relevant? Because both were right. Machine always knows the odds. The chances of surviving in the asteroid field were 3,720 to 1. Almost zero. Almost zero. Now, what was the alternative? Go back, being caught by Imperial Guard? Now, from Machine's perspective, being caught by Imperial Guard, tortured by Darth Vader, eventually killed in 10 minutes, is better than dying in 10 seconds, being hit by asteroid, one of the asteroids. Human knows that it's not an option. So that's why knowing the odds is not enough. It's about reading the consequences. So that's why, again, this is when we start looking at all sorts of human-machine relations, it's still about humans to make the final call. To understand what is relevant, as going back to Picasso, it's not about asking questions, it's about recognizing what questions are relevant today. And it could be so many situations, when very mundane situations. You don't have to go to sci-fi. It just, it's all about us making the call. I like some simple examples. So for instance, you have your wallet, e-wallet connected to your machine, and machine helps you to manage your finances. It knows everything about your salary, about your bonuses, about your mortgage rate, everything. And you are in the store, you look at an expensive gift, and machine Siri voice tells you, too expensive. Machine knows the odds. Now let me make a slight alteration. You have your kid next to you, and it's a birthday gift. From machine's perspective, it doesn't change anything. From your perspective, it changes everything. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a happy family. It could be a broken family. It could be weekend visitations, million situations. But at the end of the day, it's for you to make the final call. So that's why, again, for those who worry about the future or so, and they say, oh, there is no room for humans. No. It's this. I believe that so the future is still human. And so the future work as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
By the way, I was quite pleased to see that, though I stopped playing professional chess 14 years ago. I did it exactly in 30 minutes. My last words, it was 0 seconds.
Very good, very good. Thank you for that insightful talk. You also talked about advanced chess there, and it's really striking me that if a machine and a human player play together, they are better than any machine or any player. And why is that even a weak chess player and a chess computer is more powerful than a chess computer alone?
No, look, again, when you say weak chess player, you should understand, it's not very weak chess player.
Okay.
It's an average player. No, because it's about a combination. As I said, machine can do many things, so and it will always, cover much bigger territory. But there's still moments where you need to, and you have to know these moments. There are few of them, but it's like, you're at the crossroad, and you have to decide which way to go. There's no exact, so you should rely on your intuition, because you cannot calculate to the very end. But you move one way or you move another. So, and if you know exactly when to intervene with this drop of human knowledge, that could be phenomenal. But this relatively weak human player should know the computer. It's again about perfect combination. Because it's this, for instance, when I mentioned radiology, when you have, it's the, let's say, experienced professor looking at some of these pictures, images. He or she could be saying, I'm not so sure. So the big mistake we can make if we interfere with territory of machine superior knowledge. Sometimes an experienced nurse could be better reader, because she will not be looking for refutations. She will simply follow the flow. Again, it's very important that this cooperation helps machine so that to get to higher percentage. So it's knowing exactly what this machine is missing for solving this very problem.
And what is the skill that humans still have? Is it intuition, or how would you describe it? Is it creativity, intuition?
It's a creativity, and it's about direction. It's about just recognizing what is relevant now. Because let me say that any closed system and any game you can design it as a closed system. Chess, Go, Shogi, Japanese chess, Dota, any video game, it's a closed system. Within the closed system, machine will eventually prevail, because it will just, it will again make fewer mistakes. But the moment you look at the open-ended space, machine doesn't recognize the moment when it reaches territory of diminishing return. It will continue doing these things without recognizing that it's time to stop. So basically, the role of human will be sort of limiting the open-ended space into the closed systems, and then handing it over to the machines to actually show its superiority.
I see. And do you think that something like the IQ, that it will be less relevant in the future because of the more and more the machines that are with a better skill at some point, and we need other.
It's a very challenging question. So that's the okay. I have a decent IQ, so I don't know how you should measure IQ versus the machine programmers. It's moving some different kind of human. Maybe it's more like an emotional IQ, so that's EQ. So it's because there's still there are certain areas where only humans can make the difference, and I think we need more experiments, because that's, again, we are just entering the era where humans will start recognizing that we have to start, redesigning these relations. So it's, again, there's nothing wrong about sort of guiding machines or guiding this as the flock of algorithms. It's, again, just imagine this as you have a very, very powerful gun, and it's getting more and more and more powerful. But all you can do is just to make a tiny correction of the bullet direction, maybe, 0.1 degree of the angle. But in one kilometer away, it will be 10 meters of the target. So it's very important to recognize we should do maybe a tiny, it's a fine tuning, tiny contribution, which could have a phenomenal effect.
I see. You also talked about the education system and how we should adapt to that. Could you really elaborate a little bit on that? So you said that someone from the 19th century would recognize everything, nothing but a classroom. That was really funny. But how should we adapt our education system to this?
No, but again, it's what is the concept of education? Why do we educate our kids? To make sure they're ready for the jobs in the future. We're not doing that. So we are prepared. It's like, the generals always working on the concept of the previous war. We're now working on the concepts that are outdated. They're antique. So we simply should recognize the fact that, again, the job market 20 years from now, and 10 years from now, it could be very different from our expectations. And we should teach them, let me repeat it, not what, but how. How to work with this massive amount of information. Because right now, the way that most of the schools operate, it's simply antiquated. It's antiquated, and the teacher used to be, for centuries, the center of authority and the center of knowledge. Today, with one swipe of a finger, they can learn more than this teacher knew for his or her entire life. So that's why, again, it's very important for us to understand that these relations change. It's not one-way street, it's interactive. That's the way these kids think, because it's iPad generation. So that's they believe information is interactive. It's a free flow of information. And I understand that educational systems, they're very conservative. You have teachers unions and traditions. But it's 21st century, for God's sake. So we're departing from so many traditions. And amazingly, education is still lagging way behind.
Especially in Germany, we tend to have a lot of fears. You know that there's a term, German Angst, for example. Yeah. And you said that you should. Maybe you should call it augmented reality, not artificial.
Helps.
No,
I don't know how it sounds in German, but it's just this. In English, it definitely sounds friendly.
But do you have any fears of improving machines at all, or do you just see the potentials?
What's the point? Certain things are happening. So we have to adjust. So machines, look at the history. There were always fears. Machines will change, our lives for worse. Empowering in our minds machines with some, so evil qualities. It's wrong, because AI is impartial, whether it's artificial or augmented. It's about us using it. Unfortunately, you look back at the history of creations, of scientific creations. First, it has been always used for destruction, because it's much easier to build a nuclear bomb than a nuclear reactor. So, and thinking that AI, could have prejudices, it could have a bias. It's not about AI. It's about machines simply following the statistics. And if we don't like something about AI, it's because of us. It's like looking in the mirror saying, no, I don't like the image. Okay, either you work on you, or you try to, to distort the image. So it's how we use it, because if you try to slow the process or to stop the process, it's not going to help. I think the danger is not for AI industry going too fast, it's going too slow. Because as I pointed out, this McKinsey chart, many jobs are already doomed. It's like these jobs like a zombie. They're already dead, they just don't know about it. So,
do you have an example for that?
No, there's so many jobs. Again, this is
one.
Okay, I don't want to upset people. I don't know this. This is again. Just I apologize if you have financial advisors here.
Okay.
So
okay,
sometimes I'm saying that's when you go back to 60s, all the talented kids, they had dream of being space engineers. In 1990s, they all wanted to be financial engineers. So I thought it was a big waste of a talent. Now, my hope is that AI will destroy enough jobs in finance to shift kids back to space.
But do you think that in your lifetime, machines will be able to be creative, for example? Or general intelligence?
But creativity means that you accept mistakes. So because what is creativity? You don't know the outcome. Machines know the odds. Machine will always look for the best way to move forward. But it's just, but to be creative, again, it's just, you have to jump into sort of untested waters. So it's into the unknown. And that's exactly what humans have its advantage. Because again, we know that could be a mistake, but it's, I think it's some sort of it's contradiction, it's embedded contradiction. Because expecting machine to be creative is basically to go against its nature, which is, do everything based on certain patterns.
On rules, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you again for this insightful talk.
I hope it was not too dark, and yes, and it's a good start for the conference, and just you will look into the future work with more optimism. Thank you.
Thank you.